Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. We have a great session lined up for you today. Before we get started, there are just a few general housekeeping points to cover. First and foremost, please use the online question tool to post any questions that you have, and we will share them with our speakers. Second, if you experience any technical difficulties today, please use the same question tool and a member of our admin team will be on hand to support you. And finally, just to note, this session is being recorded and we'll be sharing a copy of the recording with you via email in the coming days. So, without further ado, I'd like to hand over to our speakers to get us started.
Welcome, everyone. In this short session, we will do a lot today. We will throw statistics, we will share music inspirations, we will also go back in time to Gold Rush in California. And why? Because all of that has something to do with AI. Hugo will cover the magic of AI from tech perspective, whereas I will focus on the practical applications and use cases from lawyers' perspective, and that's all in 30 minutes. So you see brief agenda here, it will be all around AI, and we will enter into space of RAG as well, which can sound a bit unknown to many of you. But before we get there, short introduction so you know who we are. Hugo, over to you.
Hello, my name is Hugo Seymour. I was originally a corporate solicitor with a focus and fascination on sports and fashion law before moving into Della, where I was the Chief Operations Officer with the responsibility for data and product. And now I am the head of AI for legal software inside Wolters Kluwer.
And I'm Margot Trebica. I've started my career similarly to Hugo in law. I was at Clifford Chance very briefly, and then moved eventually to legal tech space, where I've been working for over 7 years with lawyers and legal ops from sales perspective, customer success perspective, on understanding the benefits of AI and to help with smooth implementation of AI, as well as contract lifecycle management systems into their existing processes. Why I'm speaking here today? Because first of all, I like AI. I use AI on a daily basis, but I'm also here because I talk with lawyers daily, and I'm predominantly interested why, with the tech available, lawyers don't use AI as much as they could. What stops lawyers from using AI to its full potentials when it's now so widely available? And thanks for listening to the introduction about us. Now, a few words about Wolters Kluwer, because this is why we are here. Wolters Kluwer is the company that we work for and who supports this webinar and is providing the extensive and advanced AI and CLM solutions on the market for lawyers. But Wolters Kluwer is a global leader in professional information, software solutions and services in the following sector, not only legal, but also health, tax and accounting, corporate performance, ESG, financial corporate compliance and regulatory. So Wolters Kluwer is a Dutch company, and it's been present on the market for over 120 years. So none of the recent additions to the market. 120 years, it's a decent time, but also decent size, because we serve customers in over 180 countries, and we are part of over 20,000 people employed by Wolters worldwide. So quite a nice number statistics here. And let's get started with the actual session today that will focus on contract lifecycle management and use of AI within that process. So from chaos to structure, that's the main purpose of any legal tools, especially CLM and AI. Brief history of CLM from records phase, i.e. keeping everything in one place to help minimize that chaos and add structure, through phase of engagement, i.e. ensuring more detailed compliance, contract analytics and better reporting, to intelligence, the phase that we are currently in with CLM and AI, helping to not only provide detailed reporting, but also identify risks and provide predictive analytics. With that comes history of AI. AI doesn't need to be explained because many of you have attended multiple webinars, have read about it extensively. Maybe some of you have tried it, but it is about speed, efficiency, and risk mitigation. And there is nothing beyond it. It's speed, efficiency, and risk mitigation. So let's look at AI. From start, it was about speed. It isn't a secret that legal matters and document reviews take a long time. Therefore, it was only a natural fit to help with the issue in the legal industry. Even from the earliest iteration of the tool that provided AI, the efficiency gains could quickly be realized with the use of OpenAI and more that has been developed in recent years, which Hugo will shortly talk about. The speed and efficiency could not be managed better. And in fact, it is unprecedented how much of a difference AI can make in lawyers' life. Some of you will have experienced it, some of you haven't, but lawyers who have been using AI for contract review, either as a standalone, only for that brief and short process, or part of a wider contract lifecycle management process, have seen improved in positive change in the way they work. Time saved on review can range from anything from between 30 to 95%. Report generation done with just a click of a button, and it completely altered the need for copy and paste, which was a big admin aspect for many, and also lack of mistakes when it comes to copy and paste. With the use of AI, also lawyers gained the ability to highlight risks that can be discussed, negotiated, and actioned immediately upon evaluation of the document without spending too much time on, first of all, finding it and reading through it. So no admin, ability to focus on higher value analysis. So again, coming from that chaos to really nice structure through using efficiency. But what also isn't a secret that contract review, especially if part of large M&A transaction, can be very expensive, really good for lawyers and law firms, money, but there is also other aspects to it. It's not great for clients who started looking for other alternative solutions. And also the time written off by many, and that is a known fact, would mean that time of junior lawyers and trainees could have been better spent with the use of AI for those tasks for a number of reasons, not only speed and efficiency, avoidance of time written off, but also the learning and training that's available with the use of AI. Because again, AI gives you that structure that junior lawyers can follow, the structure that has been set up by seniors, by those experienced ones. AI helps gaining confidence in the review and ensures smarter way of practically applying law by following the certain rules that have been set, rather than rummaging around the documents free flow. So this aspect is definitely underestimated, I think. And the final point that isn't really a secret statement from me today is the fact that lawyers are risk averse. Some of speakers previously tried to claim they aren't, but they are. It's their main job to mitigate risk, so naturally they have to be risk averse. Spotting it early with help of AI could be extremely impactful for a number of reasons. It could be huge cost saving, risks of needing to renegotiate contracts or fall into contracts that you don't want to be part of could be avoided. So these are the news and notes that help anyone using CLM and AI to move from chaos to structure. And it is about speed, efficiency, and risk mitigation. It is not trying to do anything but help with these three aspects and some that align to it. But these are the main and core ones. And you would be attending multiple events, joining multiple conversations, but and examples will always be around there. So I want to move to the next slide, because what comes next is the recent accomplishments and how I put a bit of a secretive phrase there, which I will explain later, how to make AI your ninth symphony. But let's start with statistics. Who doesn't like good statistics? I want to only give you a few examples to understand what is really the power of AI and CLM system if you start to use it. My questions are and require answer yes or no. Would you like to review a set of the same lengthy documents such as franchise agreements or leases in 1 day instead of 5? Would you like to save 95% of review or on review of NDAs? Would you like to check 15,000 documents for price increase restriction and if related to inflation, written in 15 languages in 3 weeks with 3 lawyers instead of in 5 months with 10 lawyers? All these examples, and if you answer yes, obviously you will understand that this is the power of AI versus manual intervention of lawyers. If you said no, I don't know what else could put you on board. But that's essentially, these are only few examples, but quite impressive ones, I would say, from the use of AI by our own clients. And I can throw many more examples at you. They could be less or more impactful, but there is always positive impact there. So if you are impressed with those statistics, please feel free to reach out to us. If you haven't, these are just random small, mid-size law firms, small clients, in-house legal. These are different examples, and the change can be done anywhere. But that doesn't really need to move any further, even though Hugo will tell you otherwise, because he is a very geeky type and he knows his stuff. But from a client and utilization perspective, it really doesn't need to move any further, because the things that I was talking about above are extremely impressive already. What we need, and I'm speaking from kind of day-to-day use, we need lawyers to be on board and move with us. And that is what I'm trying to mention today and really highlight, because the tech is there, the tech can help. Give it a go, try it. But the world is moving in a direction with assistance of AI, not only legal, the whole world. And it's moving at unprecedented speed. And it is up to you lawyers to either go with the flow or stay behind. But it's a huge mindset change. It's without a doubt. But especially for senior lawyers, it's important to understand what are the market current requirements and expectations, because companies started to use different services than law firms, or in-house started to implement different techniques. Companies are looking for the most efficient and cheapest solutions, and in-house lawyers are always also needing to adhere to cost cutting in their organization. So there are a lot of obstacles that are being faced by different kinds of lawyers in the current industry. We also keep forgetting that junior lawyers, trainees, and law students that are entering the world and legal space have been raised with smartphones, internet, and many of them have been raised with some knowledge of AI or interest in it and tech in general from an early age. So if you can imagine getting into a law firm or in-house that does things the old way, like printing, highlighting, will be very difficult for those individuals, for those newcomers who don't always know how to hold a pen for too long, not being there. But my kids struggle with handwriting at the moment, so I know from firsthand. And you as a lawyers, you can choose to continue working the old way, and you can continue putting fax number on your website, but how many people will actually reach to you this way, it is questionable, because hardly anyone knows even what the fax machine is. So the gap between how lawyers operate and market expectation is increasing day in, day out. Therefore, there is a lot of consideration for lawyers to be had when thinking how and at what speed the world is currently moving. It is your decision, but I encourage you to be a bit like Beethoven, and this is where my Ninth Symphony comes in. Beethoven created Ninth Symphony, and I hope potentially you will be inspired by his story, because I'm going to tell you how I think it relates to AI and to current behaviors on the market in the legal space, versus what a Ninth Symphony has actually been doing. So many of you will know the story of Beethoven. He was gifted from an early age. He created his career as a musician and composer, and he was well recognized and in high demand, hopefully, as some of you will be currently on the call, lawyers, one of the best in his field, hopefully many of you. And at the same time, he was making a lot of money. Hopefully everyone on this call will be in that situation. He was very popular, invited everywhere, but close to his 40s, he started to become deaf. His deafness was a huge change, and this is where the AI for lawyers comes in, that big change. So he started to lose hearing, not a great perspective for a musician. So most of people in his situation would either resign, continue, perhaps if brave enough to do the work as they were doing before, maybe playing for much smaller audience at home. But he decided to do absolutely extraordinary thing. And I believe there is a huge correlation between what he has done when he became deaf to what lawyers can do with rise of AI, because this big change is unthinkable, and it is a change. It's a completely different story for Beethoven situation and completely different situation for lawyers. Huge change. Beethoven decided to embrace his deafness and he transitioned. He started creating completely different music to what he has done before. So Ninth Symphony is a completely different tune to what he has created before, completely different trend of music and novelty. So he already set himself up prior to his deafness, but he didn't stop there. He used his top talents and what he remembered. He used imagination and giving all the passion, all the skills that he had in creating the most extraordinary piece, which became the Ninth Symphony. And again, why and how is it relevant to lawyers of today who are not sure how to approach AI, who are not sure what to do with contract lifecycle management and other innovation, and decide to stay in the old way and not move with the flow? Ninth Symphony and Beethoven hasn't followed any previous trends, and it has been created under unprecedented circumstances, as AI is for all of us. So new type of music was designed and played by a musician who was completely deaf. That's unreal. Even if you are lawyers who already positioned yourself as the best of the best in class, the greatest talents and expert, you still can do more, because you can do your work differently now, bring it to a completely different level. Combining your knowledge and talent and be supported with AI. If you think previously that was it, I reached the top. Beethoven's Ninth Symphony wasn't created from a comfort zone. And so if you're currently comfortable in your space, and that's what I often hear, I'm comfortable where I am, I like my Excel spreadsheet, I like my notes and communication via email, that's fine, but try to come out of your comfort zone, because it may be fine for you, but no one else around you, and try to use AI and you truly utilize to all the knowledge that you have, all the imagination and creativity that sits with lawyers, because we with Hugo truly believe that the lawyers are very imaginative and creative, and use that to recreate law in unprecedented way for the benefits of lawyers of all generations to come, but also for improvement of those who use your services. Let's not forget, you are not the only people involved in that space. There are also clients, and they are always looking for something new, something better, something cheaper, faster, more efficient. So I think in summary, in terms of what's coming, what are the accomplishments of AI and what has been done in this space, it's the amazing technology that has been available for lawyers for many years, and all the great vendors that have been helping with creating those opportunities. But the biggest accomplishment that AI is still to achieve is to encourage lawyers to use it to its full potential. There is a massive shift and improvement in the way lawyers use AI, but it's still where a lot of hesitancy comes from, and the change management still need to happen in many minds. And hopefully you will be inspired by the story of Beethoven and his innovative mind and his lack of fear entering into a new space, and will replicate it into your own space for the benefit of yourselves, of the future lawyers, and everyone who uses the services. Thank you so much for listening, and over to Hugo.
Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to very briefly go over a couple of basic points first, and then get into the fun stuff where I get to speculate wildly about the future. So starting, we're just going to quickly look at what generative AI is and why that's different from what came before. And the real reason it's different is because generative AI makes new stuff. It can start to have opinions. It's not just going to show you something, it's going to actually give you something new, something novel, something that's potentially going to be usable. And this really expands what is possible using this technology. Previously, you could kind of go in and take a look at sentiment. How happy are people? You could go and find bits of a contract. You can, as Margot says, that that deals with quite a lot of the problems. But there are opportunities now using the fact that the scope of what these technologies can do has massively expanded. Now, obviously, with opportunity comes risk, and I'm certain everyone here has heard about hallucinations. And for those that haven't encountered these too much, these models work by basically taking a bunch of text and then saying, what word do I think comes next? Now, that means they're very good at being plausible, at being believable. The problem is that doesn't necessarily, plausible and believable doesn't necessarily mean factual. And as lawyers, as people involved in contracting, factual is something that we can't really live without. So what has actually been going on? Well, this has been enabled by the relentless march of improvements to these models. They're getting bigger, they're getting more powerful, they're also getting more expensive. That's less good, but at least for the top end, but that's driving down prices in the middle and towards the lower ends. And this is because the community finds new tricks, finds new techniques, and then uses them to deliver what we need. And the big change here is the number of words that a model can look at once. Now, you can't read a contract word by word. You can't read it paragraph by paragraph. You also can't really read it clause by clause. You need to know what the entirety of the relationship looks like. And we were getting to the point where that was possible. And this slide all looked very neat and tidy until last week, when Google thoroughly spoiled that and released something absolutely enormous that can ingest several books at once and pay attention to all of it. So why do I keep talking about this attention in this context? That's because, as I say, you can't look at stuff clause by clause. You need to look at an entire relationship. You need to look at, an entire kind of way of dealing with people before you can understand what people's contractual requirements and so forth are. So this is why these models, as they expand, get more and more useful for things like contract lifecycle management, because they can look at an entire relationship rather than just individual clauses. And this is the way that we think this is going to keep moving. And yeah, a year ago, I wouldn't have been able to say this, but now, thanks to those improvements, we're really beginning to be able to deal with these things in an entirely new way. Now, the other exciting bit is that we're kind of moving towards a slightly more mature approach to this entire area. What we had previously was people getting very excited about, GPT-3 or GPT-4 passing the multiple choice part of the bar exam. That's not actually very useful in real life, because the only thing I remember from when I took my law exams is how little of that stuff I've used ever since. The practical is very different from the theoretical. But now we're beginning to see people doing research on much more interesting things. It's not theoretical, it's, okay, if we give an AI a contract playbook and some contracts, how much does it get right? How much does it cost to do it? What is the accuracy of the AI? And it's also not just looking at the AI, it's going, okay, what is the accuracy of a paralegal doing the same work? What's the accuracy of a junior, a senior? And then we can begin to start making some trade-offs. Where are we comfortable doing this? Can we be comfortable doing this? We're moving from something that's far, too pie in the sky, airy fairy, to things that are very practical and are going to be value-based and value-driven. And this has really kind of come from the last 18 months. And the big change has been the capacity for models to begin to follow instructions and then begin to take the next logical steps when following those instructions. Now, I talked about previously text, how much more text you can look at. And the other big change has been that models don't just look at text alone, they look at other things. And if we see here, what we've got is a video of what was the Old West, historic footage of California during the gold rush. And the reason that I've been talking about instructions is because this isn't real. This was generated by an instruction. The only instruction was what we see above us, historical footage of California during the gold rush. And this is what OpenAI's latest model called Sora managed to produce. Now, this is fascinating for a number of reasons, most of which are vastly geeky and that only I care about. But the interesting change and the step change here is how much easier this is to do. Creating Toy Story 2, and I'm listening to the Creativity Inc., the book about it at the moment, nearly broke the company. You had people passing out in cars before driving home. It was all a bit scary. This took a single prompt and a bunch of computing power. And the point here is that these instructions are getting more powerful. So having clear instructions and guidelines internally is getting more powerful. Now, just going a step back a bit, well, I talked about RAG, or we talked about RAG at the beginning of the talk. And this is a slightly different approach. Instead of just using these massive contexts, we try and find what we're looking for first and then feed it to an AI. This has a few kind of massive benefits, primarily auditability. You can see exactly where it's got the stuff from. You can control it, it's cheaper, and then you can also make sure it's relevant. You don't have to, retrain entire models if your world changes. If anyone's used ChatGPT, you can see that it says that it can't deal with events that were less than 6 months ago. So this new RAG approach and this retrieval augmented generation means that we can control what these things see and then make them reason over a very specific part of the text. So that means that those guidelines just get more and more powerful because, as demonstrated by the Wild West, those instructions are getting more and more powerful. So if I have to wildly speculate, and this is my kind of favorite part of the talk, what this is doing is meaning that finding and combining information is going to get easier. We're going to be having a contract landscape that is transparent. And this then begins to move from just being able to find stuff, your CLM being a database, to being something that can monitor, and then something that can begin to move from words to actions. And just take a really simple thing, renewals. If we're renewing, I don't want to know I'm just renewing. I want to be told you're renewing, you can cancel or you can renew. And if you want to do either of those things, here's the next step. And make that process really simple and really efficient. That takes us to the end of time. I'm sorry we don't have much for questions. Thank you very, very, very much.